This program is part of WQED's Pittsburgh History Series.
Okay, here's the deal. In the next hour, I'm going to show you 25 things I like about Pittsburgh. Not my top 25, just 25. I've lived most of my life here, and I've made a lot of television programs about great things in Western Pennsylvania. If we had the time, I could probably tell you a million things I like about living here. Pittsburgh has won many recognitions for being a livable place, but I say this town is also very likable. And so I'm going to specify a bunch of mostly random things that came to mind while we were putting this program together. There's no ranking of importance. I'm not going to try to cover everything in town. The title is straightforward: 25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh. If all goes well, you'll see some stuff you never knew about before, and you might hear about something that you like too.
25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh is made possible by the Buell Foundation, serving southwestern Pennsylvania since 1927, and by PNC, celebrating Pittsburgh's past, present, and future at the PNC Legacy Project exhibit in downtown Pittsburgh.
Truth is, as we started to put this program together, I realized I've not been very careful about the exact list of 25, because there are things like streetcars. I like the fact that we still have some streetcars that rumble into the South Hills of Pittsburgh. The Port Authority calls them collectively and individually the T, but they still run on old streetcar tracks. And although I grew up riding the big old rounded vehicles known as PCC cars, I don't mind the modern boxier T cars, but I still usually refer to them as streetcars. I wish we had more streetcars that went more places than they do, but I especially like that the T still runs to my hometown of Bethel Park. You see, I've already gotten 2 things out of this already. Is that cheating? I don't think so. In fact, I'm going to get more out of this as well. You see, I've always liked Pittsburgh's Andy Warhol connections. I like that Warhol lived on Dawson Street in Oakland for many years, and I think it's cool that his museum is here too. Not long ago, I met Eric Shiner, who's now director of the Warhol Museum, and I wanted to invite him to go for a streetcar ride, because I really like that the T can take you to Warhol's grave that also happens to be in Bethel Park. Eric said okay.
The streetcar is awesome. We love the T.
You have to be careful. Get on a Blue Line car, either a South Hills Village or a library car, and take it deep into the South Hills. You go through Castle Shannon to the stop called Washington Junction. It's a popular stop because there's a park and ride lot there. Go across the tracks and head up toward Route 88 or Library Road.
I kind of love that there's a tacky strip joint just a few blocks away from Warhol's grave. He would like that too.
As pilgrimages go, it's not too hard.
Pilgrimage is exactly what it is, and when you see how active it is as a site, people do make their way here. It's not the easiest thing to do always, but they come.
You turn left on 88 for about a block.
Now we sort of have to walk single file so we don't get killed.
Then you turn left again onto Connor Road, and it's just a block or so to the small cemetery on the hill, St. John the Baptist Byzantine Catholic Cemetery.
It's just a short 5-minute walk from the station up here to the grave. And it's great. It's so European and so Japanese or so everywhere else in the world where you can actually still get somewhere really cool taking public transportation. So I've been here many times, including the day before I started my job, just to play it safe, just in case.
That's good.
Yeah, never thought of a grave like this that has really become a shrine, and there it is. So, cool. Shall we? So, I come here fairly often because anytime a close friend of Andy comes to visit the museum, this is always one of the stops on the tour of Pittsburgh. And there have been a lot of emotional moments here. And you can tell that Target just came out with its Campbell's soup line because this is more soup cans than I've ever seen on any visit here. So there are a lot.
You know, in 1987, after many years away, I was back in Pittsburgh for my job interview at WQED. I didn't believe my brother PK when he told me that Andy Warhol had just been buried in Bethel Park. He brought me up here and took my picture. And another. I think we visit the graves of the famous for lots of reasons.
Just to have that interaction with Andy and to talk to him and to leave behind some memento obviously means a lot to a lot of people.
It's really a modest grave.
Very modest, and Warhol actually had an intention for his gravestone, and he wanted it to say one word only, and he wanted that word to say figment, as though he had only ever been a figment of our imagination. But the family decided to go the traditional route, so of course it has the Eastern Cross there at the center and the praying hands, and it's Andy Warhol.
What about Eric? Ever brought any artifacts here?
Have I ever brought anything to the grave? No, but I have left a note or two at the grave. Just in case. It's always nice to, say we're watching out for you. You're in good hands. For one of those just in case moments.
After you say goodbye to Andy, you can take the T back into town. And you may notice several places, like here along the busway in Brookline, where the route has been improved with some snazzy new retaining walls. We Pittsburghers take retaining walls for granted, and we seldom brag about them, but come on, we are the city of retaining walls. They hold up our hills, they prevent erosion, they help keep our roads and sidewalks clear. I like retaining walls, of all sizes, although sometimes they fall down. My artist friend David Pohl has some wall problems at his place on Spring Hill on the north side.
Well, the retaining wall was built when this addition to the house was built on. The house was built in the 1890s, and this addition was done in 1953, I think, or 56. And the wall was built just out of whatever, it looks like they didn't have, they used whatever they had. So there's like big chunks of brick here that are already pieced together. So not sure where this came from, but there's like these big sections of brick. And then they used all this stone here, and that went over to the corner. And that's what fell down. And now I got this.
There are retaining walls all over Spring Hill. To get up there, you drive up Eighton Street, which has an ancient-looking wall.
Yes, there's that beautiful wall when you come up the hill on Eighton Street that just starts small and just grows and grows, and it's a huge wall. I don't know, it was probably built in the I'm guessing 60s maybe. Yeah, that wall has got stones the size, that retaining wall has got stones like this size, stacked maybe 20 foot tall or 30 foot tall.
Some local folks say these big old stones came from the old penitentiary that used to be where the aviary is now. But it's amazing how many walls we have and what variety.
They're part of the landscape in Pittsburgh, so as people are traveling, they don't even see them. They're there.
One day over at the 40th Street Bridge, we met Dan Cessna, district executive for PennDOT District 11, to talk about walls.
Retaining walls actually in a topography like Pittsburgh actually hold up the hillsides so that we can build roadways or any other thing along the highway. Or you might have a retaining wall that could hold up the hillside so that you can place a driveway into your garage or things like that. Many of the walls that we build today, like the one here on Route 28, is actually form-lined concrete made to look like stones. And in this case, it's made to look like canal stone. We take a lot of great pride in these walls. This project has been a real passion of mine to get constructed, get it built. This wall here is about 1,600 feet long by about 30 feet high at its highest point, and actually cost about $7 million to build. We would expect a wall like this to last well over 100 years. We've actually used a similar design in the West End when we redid the walls in the West End.
There are big walls even downtown.
The large walls near Duquesne University coming from Liberty Bridge. And that one's actually under reconstruction right now.
It's a handsome retaining wall that doesn't really hold up the hill, which is actually bedrock, but the wall allows for drainage and prevents landslides. Working mostly at night, these guys are repairing it with what's called shotcrete.
The facade was in pretty poor shape. The wall itself is actually very good, but over many, many years of deterioration, it actually needed resurfaced. So when it's complete, it will look very similar to what it did when it was new.
The retaining wall I like most is one pointed out to me in Oakland, not far from Soldiers and Sailors, along Parkman Avenue. It holds up Shenley Heights from falling into Shenley Farms, and it looks like it was built in ancient times.
There's a lot of areas where there were very large masonry walls built, and they've been there for 100 years and will be there for 100 more. Many of them are very dark. The stone is very dark from, again, the air and the impact with the air quality through the years, and they fit right in. And a lot of the walls people don't even notice. People are so accustomed to seeing them in our landscape. It seems like Pittsburgh to us.
Oh, there are many things that characterize and help define this city of ours, and sometimes they are surprises. Like this small business in Swissvale called Pittsburgh Seltzer Works. It's been in this location only since 2010, but its history goes back to 1898.
We've gone back to the turn of the century. We haven't changed anything. We do it the same way. It's all hand bottled. It's all checked one at a time. And we're trying to keep the tradition alive.
When we have the door open, you'd be amazed at how many people just stop in.
Inside the Pittsburgh Seltzer Works, an old buddy of mine, John Seekings, seems to be the one in charge.
It's always great seeing you, John.
Ably assisted by Andrea Brakacic, and Joe Small on the bottling line, and Adam Gusky making deliveries. I like what they make here, Pittsburgh Seltzer.
Seltzer is a combination of very, very high pressured CO2 and very, very cold water.
Fizzy water, it's just bubbly water.
It's light on the palate, real sparkly.
That's it. No additives, no anything else. High pressure, really cold water, and that's what it's all about.
We have a lot of customers that come in that just want it to be their drink. You know, they don't drink sodas anymore. They just want something, a healthier alternative.
One good thing is there's 0 calories, which is good for me.
My son likes to pour a little orange juice and pomegranate juice in with it.
I just like to go home after a hard day's work and have a nice cold glass of seltzer.
At first I thought, that sounds really crazy, but it also sounded really cool, you know, like making something old new again.
What we need to get to, as far as our water is concerned, is about 34 degrees, so just above freezing. The machines, it's a love-hate relationship. This machine was actually built in 1898 in London, and it does an outstanding job. It was engineered brilliantly. Our carbonator, which actually makes the seltzer, is from 1908, and it takes a little bit of TLC. Every week we work on them. There are only probably 4 or 5 of these left in the world anywhere. And we're fortunate in Pittsburgh to have this one. It's in pretty good shape.
I also like that there's no plastic waste involved. The bottles, how they're reused. So
Each bottle at the bottom is etched with a made in Czechoslovakia symbol. The factory that made them was actually blown up during World War II. So we know that every one of our bottles comes from before 1941. A lot of them will predate the H in Pittsburgh, so they're pre-1912. They're irreplaceable at this point.
I love the ones that the etching or the screen prints are still really visible.
So what you want to do, especially with these bottles that are very thick, is put a couple in your fridge, keep it really cold, and it's perfect whether it's by itself or any cocktail. It's perfect.
Hey, John.
Hey, Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself, man?
Excellent. Doing terrific. Thank you. We'll get these filled up for you right away.
Wonderful. Yeah, I actually am owner and chef of a restaurant in the Strip District, Bar Marco, and we knew when we opened in January that we wanted to have this seltzer on the bar is just a conversation piece, if nothing else. So it's a cool story to tell people. We like to support as many local businesses as possible at Bar Marco.
So here we have Bar Marco's twist on a gin basil smash. We make our own house-made elderflower liqueur and some gin, yellow chartreuse, and muddled lemon and muddled basil leaves. And of course, Pittsburgh Seltzer Works. We use it in 6 craft cocktails. And of course, like, we always come in and I think the staff drinks at least as much of it as the patrons, so.
You can call us. Now, there are places you can get it, including Whole Foods in Wexford. But we'd prefer you come here. We'd love to meet everybody that's drinking it. We come and deliver to you.
We like to try to separate the colors a little bit so everybody gets a little bit of every color too.
They deliver seltzer to private homes, businesses, apartment buildings, and to venerable Pittsburgh institutions.
Well, most of the time we do 2 deliveries a week, Mondays and Fridays, but we're trying to maybe move that around a little bit.
You have to remember to put it out Friday morning, and then magically Friday afternoon, a fresh new case is on your doorstep.
Well, we come to Phipps Mondays and Fridays most of the time. And then in the summertime, when they're really busy, when they have the farmers market, sometime we're here 3 times a week.
John obviously does some home delivery through the East End, but I was living up in Shadyside at the time when I first started getting this stuff, and I loved coming over here every Friday just to kind of come over, say hi to John, pick up the bottles. So
We're one of 4 left in North America. That's it. There's no more. So there's a lot of people that took care of it before us, and we're going to keep it going 100 more years.
So if you enjoy great Pittsburgh things to drink, you may also like our local craft beers. I do. And there's one annual event that you won't want to miss. You get 1 small glass and what's called a beer caddy.
Put one of these on. Get to put your little glass in here, hands-free. Beautiful, isn't it?
The event is called the Steel City Big Pour. It's a big party and fundraiser. Tickets aren't cheap, but every year they sell out in minutes.
Great beer and great food from local restaurants, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Absolutely. 2,000 people probably here right now enjoying the best of Pittsburgh craft beer and restaurants.
This is the original bar of the Sharp Edge, which is located in East Liberty. This was where the original people that organized the Big Pour actually sat around this corner.
We came up with this idea of let's plan a beer festival.
Cheers, brother. Craft beer is more smaller beers that are made more hands-on, and they have a lot of different flavors and a lot of different distinct tastes.
The first beer we have is an Ale Mary, which is named after Minnie, whose name is Mary, and it's an American wheat.
We've got a brown ale, why known as Big Brown Ale.
Even the first year, we were really amazed and really blown away at the response that we have.
We're from Piper's Pub in the South Side.
We are Bachtown Beer and Grill.
We're Pure in Pittsburgh and Lawrenceville.
Another of the founding entities of the Big Pour is Trash.
Trash stands for Three Rivers Alliance for Serious Homebrewers. It's a homebrew club.
Each year, up until now, they've won the Best Beer of the Festival award.
That's great. We have a little bit of an unfair advantage because we can bring 40 different beers, and other people that's financially not plausible.
I'm drinking Chinook.
The IPA, it's a wheat ale, it's really nice.
It's a bourbon oak cider.
Our original thought was craft beer is art. That was kind of one of our original taglines, which is true.
I don't even know who brewed this, really.
I brewed this one.
Okay, so
I
I'm
brewed
drinking
this
John's
one.
beer, yeah.
We've got a Pilsner, Pilzilla, it's a German-style Pilsner.
Pumpkin beer.
Well, pumpkin ales. This time of year, people love pumpkin ale.
And we also have, some people say cucumbers taste better pickled, which is a cucumber wheat ale.
Had basils and all kinds of spice beers, but never a cucumber. It has a little taste of cucumber.
Not too much, not too little. It seems like it's just a good amount that we have.
What I have here is a Bell's Two-Hearted Ale, one of my favorites.
It's called Pate Campagnola. It's a heart and liver pate made with chicken, duck, pork, and rabbit.
It's nice and clean, as you can see.
We use Penn Gold to make the beer cheese, and this is through Tavern 1947.
And I don't like the dark beers like that one. Those are gross.
I love East End. East End Brew is fantastic.
Our brewer, Jeff Gaitis, is a graduate of St. Vincent College, and that's actually the first place they made beer in Western Pennsylvania.
Everybody's drinking beer today, but I'm pushing soda. Red Ribbon.
We're doing chicken wings, agrodolce. Today we're serving up hot sausage meatballs. They might not be so photogenic, but they are delicious.
We're serving bangers and mash using Parma sausage from the Strip District.
Since 1904, we've been in Natrona, PA. We make the best soda pop in the world.
I made these last night, so they'd be fresh.
Everything local, everything fresh, everything made in-house. I love it.
So you can see here I have some nice sourdough, some regular. I even have some nice little butter ones here,
Helltown? These guys are great.
and we're serving a house-made seitan vegan stew.
Mount Pleasant used to be called Helltown.
I would say the best beer I had today was the Leopard Or by Lavery Brewing from Erie, Pennsylvania.
And we have a brand new Russian Imperial Stout.
It's a French farmhouse ale. It comes from the northern region of France called Wallonia.
This is the best one I've been to so far.
It's a saison and it's aged on Brettanomyces. It's an excellent beer.
He knows his beer.
Excellent beer.
The way they have the flow, the colors, everything's organized, it's the best.
Oh, this is fantastic. Everything about this is great. Even the porta potties, they're great.
This is amazing. This is something that's very unique to Pittsburgh.
It's always been known as a beer town, but as far as craft side, we're really pushing it up.
Even though we've changed a little bit in our makeup, maybe a little blue collar and now white collar, but a little mix, but we still love to enjoy ourselves after work.
Western Pennsylvania as a region makes great beers. 100%. It's awesome.
For us, it's fun. We get out of the office for a day and we actually get to talk to everybody.
Really, it's the beer festival in Pittsburgh to be at, and we're really happy to be here.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Salute.
Glass. I really like the Big Pour. And it's held in North Point Breeze in this giant 90,000 square foot warehouse that's the home of Construction Junction, or CJ. All the money that the Big Pour raises is to help fund Construction Junction. Dave Laniace, who helped found the Big Pour, is on the board here.
Construction Junction's mission is to promote reuse of building materials in particular.
We opened our doors in 1999 underneath the 62nd Street Bridge in Lawrenceville.
Mike Gable is the executive director of Construction Junction.
We moved to this location in 2003 because we just outgrew that location so fast.
It's easy to like Construction Junction, so we went back on a weekday to get a tour from Mike.
We know that people want to be able to come into places like this and have everything accessible, so we divided everything into departments. So we have a full kitchen and kitchen cabinet department. We have an appliance department.
What we're looking for the first project is a piece that we can add for extra counter space and extra storage space.
Our main customers are homeowners that are doing renovation projects.
If you're putting in, say, let's just hypothetically say you're doing a bathroom.
I'm going to paint this up, make it look like new. The seals aren't broken, so it's still good.
We're going to raise the whole thing because he's 6'5", and
I don't like to slouch whenever I cut up my peppers.
We also have kind of an antique architectural section. A lot of this material comes out of old houses that are going to be knocked down.
I mean, stained glass windows and woodwork and things like that were ending up in landfill before we existed are ending up being reused in a house like mine in Highland Park that we renovated.
They may be used products, yes, but the thing is they can be restored. They're not damaged as long as they're functioning properly, and you examine all that before you take it out of here. You can do some amazing things and save great money.
This material just came out of a morgue that we went in and salvaged last week, actually.
And everything that comes in goes out just as fast.
We were looking for colors that blend, that are old looking, kind of rustic, kind of retro.
And all this tile just basically comes in miscellaneous boxes.
Some of it is donated, by other companies because it's a 501c3.
This section is populated with windows that somebody may have ordered and are mismeasured, so that they're new and have never been used.
I'm always looking at things and trying to think of something that would fit.
To all the way toward when you're taking out an old window sash or divided light windows.
I have a lot of glass from this place. Most of it's not installed yet. I should be ashamed of myself.
This area all along this entire wall is our wall of doors. And doors are great sellers for us. Since we started in 1999, we have sold over 33,000 doors. We have a lot of the classic colors from the 60s. Some of the houses that we go into and remove things out of, and obviously this is Pittsburgh, so there's a lot of housing stock that's early 1900s and before, late 1800s.
It's like going to Goodwill, where it may take you a couple weeks to find what you're really looking for, but eventually you'll get it at a good price.
The whole size has been very instrumental to our success, to be able to take a lot of stuff.
Right inside the door, there's a stone. It's about almost your shoulder height.
Well, it's a giant boulder that we found here. I haven't told my wife, so I just sent her the photograph, so we'll find out.
It looks like a regular boulder that you'd find out in a field somewhere. It's actually a piece of foam. I could kick it with my foot.
People always say about Construction Junction is you never know what you're going to find, and you never know what you're going to find.
And that's the beauty. We come in here and we don't have an idea, and then we see one thing, and then one thing leads to another. And before we know it, we have a truck full of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Just for the joy, if you're inquisitive, I would suggest that you come here.
Other cities have one, but I would argue that CJ is one of the best in the country.
And I also work in the neighborhood, the Race Street, Save Race Street Committee, and we're doing, there's cleaning the area, and there are a lot of things that we can use here.
John T. Smith here doesn't have far to go to Race Street in the neighborhood of Homewood. I like the fact that people in Pittsburgh love their neighborhoods. And this group, called the Save Race Street Committee, is tapping into neighborhood loyalty to make it a better place. One day, the chairman of that committee, Elwyn Green, agreed to take us for a walk along the 5 blocks of Race Street.
It is called Race Street because this area is in the middle of what used to be a racetrack. This is a good place to pull out the map. Race Street is the yellow line here, which it wasn't here yet. And this figure that you see around Race Street is the circumference of what was a racetrack, where presumably daring young men drove their automobiles at speeds up to 15 miles per hour. So this was in 1890. If you give me a second, by 1911, all of these homes had been built where the racetrack formerly was. All that remains of the racetrack is the name Race Street, as the racetrack succumbed to a suburban building boom. At the turn of the last century, this was suburbs for the middle to upper middle class.
I think all of these houses are at least 100 years old or more.
Right.
And the construction is phenomenal.
2.5-story brick is the standard that you'll see all the way down the street, right? Most of them have first floor, living room, dining room, kitchen, second floor, 3 to 4 bedrooms, third floor, 2 attic rooms that could also be used as bedrooms. So we're talking about a 5 to 6 bedroom house, brick construction.
If you would take any one of these houses and put it in another neighborhood, you wouldn't be able to afford it.
Now, if you just look down the row here, you see that there's like a rhythm to these houses. Like you have the house with the columns, no columns, columns, no columns, columns on the roof line. See how that works? Just a nicely designed street. 5-6 years ago, Race Street was possibly the biggest hot spot in the city in terms of gang violence. And in 2008, there was this homicide on our street, and Terry Fluker basically just said enough is enough, and he called a meeting to bring residents together to begin to organize to improve the street.
There was some unhealthy activities that was taking place, so I confronted it, and it didn't seem to dissolve itself, so I went to Operation Better Block and I asked for some community help and support.
You hear about shooting on Race Street and you just like, oh, not my block. But I sat around a table with everybody from every block, and so it wasn't my block made me feel bad because it was my neighbors and they were just a block away.
This is Baptist Temple Church. They've been a partner with us insofar as they've let us hold some meetings here. So we appreciate that a lot.
Actually, the very first meeting was held here, called by founder Terry Fluker.
We were blessed that the resident came out, and we've been meeting now almost 4 years. And we clean lots, and we cut down grass, we pick up trash month to month, we do fundraisers.
Our little committee, I think we started with about 4 or 5 people.
I heard about it because flyers went around, so I attended the meeting.
And when I got to the meeting with the Race Street Committee and found out that we all had the same experiences in all 5 blocks, I'm like, okay, I'm in.
And I've been involved ever since. I live on this street.
And it was just an idea. We just wanted to get together, have street cleaning, plant flowers, nothing elaborate.
This was our first beautification project. This is a city-owned lot, and we gained stewardship of it through the city's Green Up program. And we put in a corner garden and planted our first tree.
All these Save Race Street activities seem to discourage violence. Neighbors designate block captains, clean up vacant lots, make unoccupied houses look better, and care for the neighborhood in general.
No one is a professional at what we do here. We're just residents.
I know people on every single block.
And that's from neighborhood to neighborhood, you know, that you take pride in your neighborhood and you begin to be part of it to make it a safer community as well as cleaning it up.
We're coming along. We're doing, it's great. We're doing great things.
I think it's working. The street is much quieter now, for starters. And secondly, it's becoming more beautiful. And thirdly, neighbors are getting to know one another better by working together.
It's a good thing. And every Pittsburgh neighborhood seems to have unexpected qualities. On South Aiken Avenue, technically in the neighborhood of Bloomfield, although it feels like Friendship, maybe Garfield, I really like these signs with their warnings about vegetables.
And, you know, Friendship or Garfield, like people would always be like, you live in Friendship and Garfield, it's so dangerous. And I thought it would be kind of ironic to put up a sign that, you know, where people would typically be cautious about other things, to be cautious about tomatoes is maybe a sign of times changing.
Kristen Hughes is a professor in the Carnegie Mellon School of Design. She had those signs made to alert people about the garden she's organized in her neighborhood.
I bought my house, I guess, 9 years ago, and one night, all of a sudden, I look out my window and this was a huge apartment building that was on fire. And I was out here the next morning kind of walking around, and I happened to run into the gentleman that owned the building, who was an ex-CMU professor. And I just said to him, like, what are you gonna do with the space? Are you gonna rebuild? And he goes, I'm selling it, do you want it? And I just, you know, quickly said, sure. What am I gonna do with a burned out building? I just had this crazy idea, like, a garden. I grew up on a farm in upstate New York, and it was kind of a wild dream, and I just said, let's try it.
Laura Jean McLaughlin is an artist who has worked with Kristen on several projects.
We've been friends, so she was telling me about this garden, this wonderful garden that she was doing. She bought up the land and wanted to do a community garden.
You know, she one day called me and said, the Three Rivers Arts Festival is not going to be housing our artwork anymore that they had done for the festival a few years ago. She says, I've got this giant octopus. Do you want it for the garden? And I said, sure.
So this many-faceted sculpture called Octavia, originally created as part of a putt-putt golf course at the Arts Festival, became the centerpiece of this octopus's garden.
It's pretty heavy, so we used the Egyptian method of getting it in here. So we basically had rolls of PVC pipe that we would lay one in front of the other and push it, because it's a pretty heavy piece.
I think once Octavia kind of arrived, people started coming here. It was like a destination place. And then, you know, through discovering Octavia, they start to wander through the garden and hopefully learn something new.
And a lot of, actually the main part of the body was recycled tile. So a lot of times even tiles from Construction Junction, or people who are, you know, ripping out their bathrooms or whatever, they bring tiles to me, and then I'm able to reuse them, which is great.
I love Octavia. I mean, once you come here once and you see that octopus, then you'll never forget it.
I like the backside with the smiling face on the backside with a big grin, but and also the eyeballs with the little clay parts in them.
She's taking care of things. She sort of looks over the garden. She's just a wonderful creature. It just makes you smile.
And I like the whole idea, like the symbolism of the tentacles, because it's like the garden in a way has tentacles, because it reaches out and it pulls all the people in.
We have some incredible neighbors that make it work, and I think if it wasn't for them, I couldn't do it.
And I know this once was a rougher neighborhood around here, and now it's, you know, it's beautiful. It's fantastic.
And just a few blocks away, on Penn Avenue in Garfield, you might recognize some similar mosaic tile work on the front of this building.
It's a bookstore that's awesome books, and my studio is actually in the back where I create artwork, and then it's wonderful because then I come up here and, you know, sell books and meet customers, and then I can work in the studio in the back.
Awesome. Awesome books. I like a small independent bookstore like this a lot. Some new, mostly used books, unexpected discoveries, and even 3 kitties who seem at home.
They actually were voted the top 10 bookstore cats in the world by Mental Floss. And I only found out because a customer said they saw Cupcake Slim and Mojo on the internet for that, so we were surprised.
I also like the fact that Awesome Books is right next door to a pizza place that I like, Sebak Brothers Pizza. Much loved.
It's really good, and they have a lot of vegan, vegetarian options as well as pretty much anything. So there's subs, there's all kinds of great things, and they're really good guys. I should also say that a lot of customers, while they're waiting for their lunch, they come over here to browse books. So it's a really nice partnership.
There is an agreeable sort of friendliness that often prevails in Pittsburgh. Late one August afternoon on South Atlantic Avenue in Bloomfield, I went to meet Tim McNelly, who had invited me to a party.
So I've lived here for about 3 years now, and we've had this big porch, and I have the same neighbors for most of these 3 years. And so we were all hanging out one day and decided, why not have a porch party? There's a huge porch here, let's do something with it, enjoy the summer. I said, okay, I'll make a Facebook thing and we'll do that. And then, we put it on Facebook, and it kind of grew, and people got excited, and we're inviting more people.
So I didn't know Tim, but he got my attention on Facebook, and I thought, why not? I brought along my cameraman, Bob.
These are 2 of my neighbors carrying stuff up here now. I didn't know a porch party was even a thing, really. That's what's happening here. But
it's a party on a porch with food and neighbors and good times.
Tim has put a rented portage on the side of the house, and he's expecting other special guests.
Once you were on board, I said, if we can get Sally Wig in here, it's a real triumph. And then the next day, Sally said she'll be here.
When you think of Pittsburgh, you think of Sally Wiggins. You can't help. Yeah.
Hey! What's the occasion?
We're having a porch party.
Saturday.
Stop over if you want to have a drink.
We certainly shall. We'll see you shortly.
All right.
All right, very good.
Friends from high school, friends from work, friends that I've met around here. A lot of different people from different sort of walks of life that I've bumped into over the years, so it should be interesting.
I used to work with Tim at the Pittsburgh Zoo and PPG Aquarium, and learned about this party via Facebook, as all good parties are learned about.
6 o'clock on the dot, everyone comes.
Everyone's an hour early.
He just happened to mention to me and invited me over to, enjoy the festivities, and so I took him up on it and asked him if I could bring my family, and he invited us all, and we're having a great time.
It's a fresh Wisconsin ground beef.
What are you going to make?
Burgers and steaks. So we actually know the name of the cow.
These are booze cakes, and I think I'm the only person in Pittsburgh that makes booze cupcakes.
These are the drunk gummy bears, and they are soaked in an entire bottle of vodka, and they're serious business. They're serious. This is the Sweet Walter Rose wine from the Bully Hill Vineyards in northern New York. And what I like about them is that on the back of the bottle, they provide you a sweetometer.
So Chrissy's a vegetarian. Her dad is not. We now know the cow's name was Brian. Chrissy will not be eating Brian, but her dad will be indulging in Brian in a few minutes.
This is a porch party. This is a bunch of people who some of them have little in common with anybody else, but it doesn't matter because most of us live here in the East End, and Tim has a big porch, and we are going to have a party, and some people are going to eat Brian.
Well, people eat and drink and talk, and it starts to grow dark. And when everybody's not thinking about it, the guest star arrives.
There's It's just like fun, all coming together, and we can't explain it. It's just good times.
It's like a nice Pittsburgh thing, really is, yeah. Typical kind of a Pittsburgh thing, yeah.
Yeah, I very much like an unexpected porch party, and it's number 14. For 15, you know, we are the city of confusing streets, and I'm cutting across Baum Boulevard. If anybody lives in Pittsburgh for any amount of time, you start to learn the shortcuts. And since I work in Oakland, and often we want to get to the Strip for lunch, this is one of my favorite shortcuts. Along Melwood, here past Pittsburgh filmmakers. This will take you through Polish Hill down to Liberty, and I always like it because you feel like you've sort of left the city for a while. Parts of it, like right here, are sort of urban and gritty, and right there's a really cool little staircase from Pittsburgh Stairs. You always have to be careful as you make this right turn because it's really narrow up here, and people park, but everybody seems to take their turn, like that guy's waiting for me to go by. This is somewhat of an alley. This is Gold Way, and this is one of my favorite parts right here. It's a little S-curve, and there's nothing developed here. I always feel like it's a little piece of West Virginia that we travel through. And this S-curve sort of transfers you from North Oakland into Polish Hill. We're going under the Bloomfield Bridge right here. And we've sort of come back into civilization here. It's one of Pittsburgh's best neighborhoods. It's a little bit narrow, not quite two-way street here, but there seems to be that classically Pittsburgh give and take. If you need to pull over for a minute, the other car will do the same if you seem to need the space. Here, that truck, it's a mail truck. He's pulling over to my side, but here comes a school bus, and we'll let them through. Okay. This used to be the Warsaw Tavern. Now it's the Rock Room. I miss the name, the Warsaw Tavern. But here I am turning on Dobson Street. And this is really why I do this, I think. Why this is my favorite shortcut. Because when you get up here to the crest of the hill and the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church is in front of you, if the street isn't blocked, you have just a great view. But it looks like we have to wait for this van to move. He was here in the little coffee shop, Lily Coffee Shop. This building has sort of been revived with a comic book store on the 3rd floor and a used vinyl store on the 2nd floor. And in front of us, we have this incredible view that I love. I don't know whether I feel like I'm in Poland or Italy or somewhere in Europe, but the little dip here and your ride up to the church are just one of the best sights in Pittsburgh. Sometimes you have to wait for the van to turn around, but there it is. We're at the heart of Polish Hill. That's the 54D going by. Now we're coming down towards Liberty. And across this little bridge, and I guess now that we've crossed the tracks, we're in the Strip District. It's a great shortcut. You could also get from Oakland to the Strip through Bloomfield. And you know, for many years, usually at lunchtime, I have liked Tesaro's in Bloomfield. I've always called it Tesaro's, but recently I've noticed lots of people who work here call it Tesaro's.
There's no rule, you know, Tesaro's, Tesaro's. I say Tesaro's because that's how I've been saying it since I've been here.
Well, Moira Harrington manages the place now, and she says the name came with the place.
1985, my brother bought it from Richard Tesaro. And he had a debate whether or not to change the name to Harrington's or keep the name Tesaro's, and he decided to keep the name because this is Little Italy, and he wanted to maintain the neighborhood Italian heritage.
But it's not really famous for Italian cuisine or ambiance.
I think my brother Kelly set out to be the best burger bar in Pittsburgh. He had a passion for the business, he had a passion for the customers, and he loved hamburgers.
Sadly, Kelly died from a stroke in 2009.
My mother then became the owner, and she very much wanted to keep the business going, keep the tradition alive, keep the good food and a good hamburger.
And that's what Tesaro's is famous for, great burgers and other stuff.
We're not just a burger joint. We really have great food. We cook on hardwood, and it gives the food a tremendous flavor. And that's sort of our claim to fame, along with the freshly ground hamburger by our in-house butcher, Dominic Piccola.
Dominic the Butcher is a legendary figure around here. 6 mornings a week.
I start about 5 to 7. I live 2 blocks down the street, walk up the street, come in, open up, come down here, and start trimming out my steaks and see what I need to cut for the day. Trim out the New York strips and the filet mignons, and then cut up the chucks so that we can make our own mix for our hamburgers. Then I know what I have to grind for each day. But all our beef is American beef from the Midwest. We get nothing in frozen or nothing from outside of the United States. It's all Midwest beef.
I like that here you can order a rare burger.
The meat that we just ground, you could see there was no filler, and there's no problem eating that as a cannibal sandwich if you wanted to, because it is fresh and it is quality.
There must be quality. People who work here tend to stay here.
We have Courtney McFarland, who's been here, I want to say 24 years.
I've become good enough to cook just about anything.
Tom Sigel's been here, I think, 12 years.
Courtney taught me everything I know, so if I make a mistake, I blame it on Courtney.
So we're very fortunate to have a tremendous staff that's been here, many of them more than 20 years.
Several of the loyal staff work in the kitchen in the back, where they make salads and seem to prep everything.
Back here in this kitchen, we're tenderizing the chicken. You know, it comes in and it's real thick. So we pound it, you know, so it's nice and soft and juicy. I just love working here. I mean, there's nothing else I can say, you know what I mean?
This kitchen isn't on display like the one up front where you can watch the cooks at work.
That grill room was set up as it is now when my brother bought it. And it is a nice aspect because it brings into the restaurant the uniqueness of what we have to offer.
Well, it's like cooking in a phone booth. The old-time phone booth. It's like cooking in a phone booth. Yes, it gets very hot.
Over the years of doing it for so long, it's by feel and by weight. So I just almost know about if I'm within range of 9 to 10 ounces. And the 2 extra ounces that we lose is either through fat from cooking it on the grill. And so that your burger go out, the nice consistent sized burger.
This is the Bacon Blue Burger. This is really the special one that sells a lot of. And this is I call it the Pittsburgh burger, but it's the deli burger. It gets the coleslaw. A little messy, but it's good.
Aha. And here we have our famous gourmet burger. Freshly cooked bacon. You have grilled mushrooms, grilled onions, cheese. This is our 8-ounce whole, freshly ground beef. There's pickles, onions, tomatoes, lettuce, mayonnaise, and our homemade fresh daily potato salad.
It's a Pittsburgh classic, this whole place, a wonderful old corner bar.
Originally, this building was built by an Irish widow in 1820 to be a wallpaper dry goods store. At one time, it was the Bloomfield Bargain Store. And it wasn't until really after Prohibition that it really started its career as a bar.
Wow, how does Moira know all this?
I had a property history done by Carol Peterson. And she researched it and dug into all the maps, the plate maps and the old newspapers, and she digs and digs until she gets to the bottom of the history of whatever property she's doing.
Yes, Carol Peterson has become one of Pittsburgh's most popular architectural historians, finding out and writing about the origins of structures all around our region.
I do house histories. I research the history of old homes around Pittsburgh for their owners and occasionally for community groups or realtors, but mostly for people who live in those houses and are curious about their history and, want to find out.
She's even done it for herself a number of times.
My house here in Lawrenceville was built in 1886. It was built for a skilled mill worker and his family. It has all of its original windows, wavy glass, but the whole place is remarkably intact. Also, when I bought this, it had only one electrical outlet above the first floor. Only one. So I had to get it rewired.
We tagged along when Carol went to meet with Jenny and Todd Kilgore at their new old house on Jacksonia Street on the north side.
Todd actually was on Facebook and saw something about Carol on Facebook, and he emailed me and he's like, there's this woman and she does house histories. What do you think? I was like, yeah, because when we found this property and we decided to rehab it and move in, we were like, we want to know what it used to be. I mean, if it was old. And so when we found Carol, we were like, we have to find out what this used to be. So we were really excited.
What did Carol discover for them?
Well, this used to be a butcher shop when it was built in 1890. I think they started construction. And then in 1891, they completed it.
I mean, it's got all that carved stone. It's a Richardsonian Romanesque influence. As far as the carving, the arches that you see, those rough cut stone arches, plus the paper records I was able to look at, pretty much everything fell in place.
This was really an eyesore. For 10 years, this place sat vacant, and they were thinking about tearing it down. And thankfully, this opportunity presented itself, and we were able to save this beautiful structure and call it home, and hopefully it'll stand for another 120 years.
Yeah. Somebody calls me, like Todd, I just pretty much get a verbal agreement from them. Go to work, research first the deeds at downtown, because that's kind of the backbone of the house history, to know who owned the property and how much they pay for it, and that makes it clear when something was built and who had it built.
So Carol spends some time in the county office building where Jim Usual is deputy in the Department of Real Estate.
Here we have all the land-related documents from 1788 to obviously the present. Allegheny County was incorporated out of Washington and Westmoreland County, and so ever since the day that the county was incorporated, deeds started to be recorded here.
And you can come and see them or get Carol to help you.
What I do when I come here is find the most recent deed to whatever property I'm researching and look at that. It's got the property's legal description and all the pertinent information. It will also reference the previous deed, and so then I'll go look at that, and that references the previous deed, and so on and so on, and then eventually, maybe 30 minutes or an hour or whatever later, I'm back to the deed before a deed that precedes the house having been built. After I look at the deeds here and get all the information that I need, I go to the Carnegie Library in Oakland, and mostly the Carnegie Library in Oakland has so much, old newspapers on microfilm. They have certain maps that you don't find anywhere else. There's all kinds of information out there about regular folks. They don't have to have been Andrew Carnegie or Henry Clay Frick. The bricks and mortar are important, but also the lives of the people who came along and said, okay, I'm going to buy this lot and I'm going to have this kind of house or building constructed in this place, and it's going to be so big and I have this much money to spend on it. That really gives a whole lot of context to a building and its neighborhood, and they all add up to being something that tells you a lot about Pittsburgh.
I really like that Carol Peterson writes these house histories and that people hire her to do so. I also share her enthusiasm for the Carnegie Library in Oakland, especially that Pennsylvania department up on the 3rd floor, where it's kind of a hidden treasure.
We have so many people come upstairs, and not just because they're lost.
Many of them come upstairs because they want to be here.
On this day, the head of the Pennsylvania department, Marilyn Cocciola Holt, was there. So were librarians Cindy Ulrich and Gil Pietchuk. They all agree it's not easy to explain exactly what they do here.
The Pennsylvania department's concentration is Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania history, current events, family history, statistics, Pennsylvania law, Pennsylvania government.
I think it's a conglomeration of many things. It's hard to really say it's one thing. Of course, it's history, but it's, I think, people's lives also, the life of everybody who has lived in this area sort of kind of is touched by the library in some way.
It's Pittsburgh history and family. I mean, we get so many people that come in that say, I had a great-grandfather that was born in Pittsburgh.
I think it's just the life of the city over time and how things have changed, and we sort of collect those things here, and it's people can come in and look at them here.
So it's a very mixed bag. We have seniors, of course, doing genealogy, but we have many middle school people who are working on things like projects on local history. We have people who are just doing statistics for things like a business plan.
One of the things I like, and right now it's on my desk, is my mother had a relative who did family history, and about 10 years ago they published her book of her family history, and it's part of our collection. And I love being able to open it and say, I'm in this book.
Oh, there are many joys to be found up here, among the many handy resources like drawer after drawer in the microfilm department.
We have newspapers that no one even remembers. We have the Mercury and we have the Commonwealth. We have some Homestead newspapers. We have some newspapers from Westmoreland County like the Pennsylvania Argus, and those are extremely important. Many people come in and use those.
Sometimes a librarian will bring you something from the back.
And when you open this up, it's a lot of maps.
Our whole goal is to help the person who's asking us the question, who needs that information, and we want to be able to find it for them if it's at all possible.
This set of maps is used a lot, as you can tell by the fact that it's all messed up. About once every 6 months I sit here and reclip all the parts together.
To me, the best things here are what they call the vertical files.
The vertical files are a very important part of our collection, especially because there is no good index to Pittsburgh newspapers. And over the years, beginning in about 1900, that's the oldest clipping I've ever found, the librarians of the time were clipping things from the newspapers, magazines, any place they found these ephemeral items. Not every library has as extensive vertical files as we have, because we have about 35 file cabinets full of information.
This PA department also has some very cool old photos.
The Pittsburgh Photographic Library is what we call it. It's a series of negatives that we maintain here, approximately 40,000 images.
It's kind of a unique collection. You don't really see it in a lot of libraries. Some historical societies have photo collections, but it's kind of unique for an urban library.
Gil takes care of the photographic library. Any favorites?
Maybe some of the iron and steel photos. It takes me back to my grandfather worked, of course, in the mill, and you just think about how that was, how things have changed, and how your life is so much different now than the way they lived back then.
Old photos have that power. They can help us make historic connections to the past, help us compare what was then and what is now. That can be fun as well as informative. And so one day, downtown on 7th Street, we met Mark Pomaki, who lives in the Century Building.
I moved here basically just because I loved the architecture. I love the hustle, the bustle, but at the same time I'm in a building where I can get away from all that.
Mark evaluates appraisals for a living, but he also likes to find old photographs of Pittsburgh and then take pictures of what's there now, the old before and after.
That's an image down Wood Street.
Once he's got a good pair of photos, he posts them on Facebook, and there I've come to like them a lot. It's fascinating to see how exactly our world has changed and what stayed the same.
you know, I'm curious, I guess, to see. It's like traveling back in time. It's fun. You know, seeing a lot of these old photographs of the city and stuff, you sometimes learn aspects of certain things. And even today, I see certain things downtown, and I'm like, why don't they remove that? They don't know what's under there,
So Mark finds the old photos by exploring various online archives. He looks for places around town that he might recognize.
Yeah, it's where 4th and Wood is. If you were right where like 4th and Wood would be today, that's where this was. But that's just an image of now where they upgraded the PNC building down there. That lantern building that they put in. The old pictures, a lot of them, the Library of Congress online, you can go on, just type in Pittsburgh, and you'll be fascinated by the kind of stuff that the Library of Congress has. I get a kick out of when it's changed a lot, but there's a few things that are still the same. Friends of mine will go, oh, I love those photographs where it looks better today. My one friend will say, oh, some of them make me sad. They make me sad to see them because they realize what they've lost. If I can find the same exact time of day on the clock, and I know the date of that photograph, I line it up, because then the shadows line up exactly as they had. And that I usually try to do of like 100 years, because I think it has more of I think if it's 100 years, to get it to the minute, I think just is worth it to do.
Mark uses a small digital camera, nothing special. When he goes out to a site, he takes the old photos with him on his camera.
Today I was thinking Lawrenceville. There's 2 photos that I seen there. They're July 17th, 1908.
Both of the old photos were shot in an alley called Banner Way off of Foster Street. Neighbors want to know what's going on.
There goes the photo that you were talking about. Yeah, where they're laying the brick, but like it seems like everybody that lived there came out in the street to get in the photo, because you can see the kids and everything else that are all coming out.
There's a lot of houses still here.
Yeah, and I like the doorway also on this one. That's still almost the same. Actually.
Yeah.
Even the detail in the doorway is still the same.
Yeah, the guy did a good job of renovating it.
Yeah.
It doesn't take Mark long to line up the important angles, the points where the images connect. Still, there were unexpected bonuses.
I like the aspect that it says watch children, and we're watching children 104 years later blend into today and then.
Eventually, Mark hopes to put together a book of these matched photos that he calls Time Reflected.
Once something's a hobby and people start to appreciate it, then you take more pride in it and you want to learn to do it better. And just to, if not for the aspect of the old photographs and the old subjects and the people of that time, you want to do it as best as you can. It's sort of honoring them in a way.
It is honoring and preserving and oddly entertaining to let these photos take us from years ago to today. Mark took this recent wintry shot along Liberty Avenue. On Liberty, there's a cool little storefront museum that I've liked since before it moved here in 2009. Its founder and executive director is a cartoonist himself and a showman. His name's Joe Wose. He'll do anything, even move a trash can, so people can get the best possible view of this place called the Toonseum, a museum with character.
The Toonseum originally started as a small hallway in the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh, which we found very limiting for a lot of reasons. Cartoons were a very broad audience. We moved to downtown Pittsburgh's cultural district, great location. We get a lot of tourists and a lot of regulars. It's right in a bus stops. We have people who stop in every day just to chat about cartoons.
Well, I used to come down just visiting, and I was down so much eventually I figured I might as well just start helping out, and next thing you know I was a volunteer, and I've been down here ever since then.
We do have a permanent collection that we actually rotate artwork from.
I was at the Art Institute as a student, and I think it was around maybe 2006, 2007. And someone said, you should go down, there's a cartoon museum. I'm like, there's no cartoon museum. I'm like, yeah, it's right down the street.
And we try and do a cross-reference of the history of comics and cartoons.
So I came down like, whoa. So I met Joe, and we got to know each other for the last few years.
Tonight we're part of the gallery crawl. The galleries around downtown stay open late, and we just encourage people to stay downtown or come downtown and check everything out and really see what we have downtown.
So you'll have an exhibit of editorial cartoons from around the world one month, and then the next month it might be your favorite superheroes. So it's constantly evolving and changing.
I think it's really cool. I think it exposes people to a lot of artwork that they wouldn't necessarily consider art. You know, cartoons, comic strips, animated movies.
Right now we're celebrating Pittsburgh as Gotham. It is an exhibit that examines and celebrates all the many connections between the Batman franchise and Pittsburgh.
So that's a big local favorite and comic book favorite. So that's really a big favorite right now.
You know, they filmed Dark Knight here in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has been transformed. Pittsburgh is now Gotham. All of these pieces you're looking at are actually Chris Nolan's set notes. Okay. They came here, they decided to take pictures, and then he took a marker, or actually a crayon, and said, this is what I want the prison to look like, and actually wrote right over top of that. Gotcha. So yeah, Chris Nolan was actually here when they were filming. They filmed Batman directly in front of this museum.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can actually see there's Chris Nolan, me, our board president Rob Rogers, and Jerry Robinson, the creator of the Joker and Robin. So. Wow.
And it's also a favorite because I was an extra in the stadium scene, and you can see me for a split second during the big explosions. I'm in the exhibit actually. We got a picture, we got a little freeze frame and put me up in the exhibit.
But even our current Care Bears exhibit surprised me when I got to go through their vault and pull out this artwork as I'm curating and going, wow, I had no idea this artwork was so beautiful and so intricate. So I think every exhibit we have, there's something memorable, something that just amazes and astounds me.
I was drawing a cartoon.
What is it?
It was a Care Bear.
It has been wonderful being in downtown Pittsburgh. We have people who visit us from around the world who come here just for the Toonseum, for our exhibits. It's remarkable. We've had people come from as far away as Spain to see our, when we did our Akira exhibit. They called us and said, I'm flying in from Spain. And we said, we're a very small museum. And they said, how much art do you have on the walls? And we said, 100 pieces. They said, I'm there to see the art. We do a couple different events every year. Our biggest is Kablam, which is just a celebration of the cartoon arts. And we celebrate different aspects. One year we had Carol Spinney, Big Bird, and we celebrated childhood. We celebrated our childhood memories. This year we had a surprise guest who just showed up out of nowhere. We had a star from the stars, George Takei, best known as being Captain Sulu. We are unique. There are only 2 museums dedicated exclusively to the comic and cartoon arts, San Francisco and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has always had this great tradition of celebrating pop culture. It's the first movie theater, the first radio station, the first pop music, really all emanated and originated here in Pittsburgh. I think there's something about that, although Pittsburgh has grown and we're a high-tech city, there's still that blue-collar ethic that really appreciates that there's nothing common about the common man. It's extraordinary, and we appreciate it better than I think any other city.
We do appreciate our hardworking roots, and it's rare to meet a Pittsburgher who doesn't also appreciate a cold drink and a fish sandwich. So I want to take you to the Mon Valley, to Rankin, to an old steelworkers bar called Amel's Lounge.
In Rankin here, there aren't many businesses left if you go throughout the town.
I never even knew it was here until I came to work. And I live up the street. It's like a little hidden secret. And now we tell everybody because it's great. It's a nice little hidden secret.
You can get all the fancy restaurants you want. If you want food, you come here.
But this place is able to continue to be here because of the quality of food that they present and because of the way they treat people.
This place is named for the late Emil Luzajec, who died in 2009. His daughter Chrissy Coaches runs the place now.
And we have a history of being known for our fish sandwiches, #1. We're also known for our Reubens and our burgers.
Everyone knows about Emil's. Stuffed cabbage is good.
And our steaks. And we just have good home-cooked food.
The food tells the history of the old Steel Valley. You know, I can't really say pretty much how I like the food, but I love the food. It's not my culture, it's something different, but it's excellent food. But the food tells the story of this culture, this region, like the old steel mill, you know?
Matter of fact, when I worked in the mill, I was a supervisor down there. On Fridays, these guys wanted to get fish sandwiches. That's it called Amel's, you know?
I got the world famous fish sandwich because it's I mean, look at it, it's huge. It's 3 cod fillets and the breading is just very, very, very tasty.
You know, the good hunky American food. That's the only way I could describe it. Hunky American food.
It's the fish sandwich. You're never going to be able to finish it.
That's hunky food.
What's that?
Polonsky?
My favorite thing is when people call stuffed cabbage hunky hand grenades. I think it's so funny. I don't know why.
Well, here I have one of our Reubens. And as you can see, it's a good sized sandwich and it's made with love and great bread.
I've even taken my boss there one time and he absolutely loved it.
My husband actually brought me here. He would come here, he would sneak here for lunch.
The first time I was at Amels was in 1980 when I was at Carnegie Mellon.
I've eaten the open-faced steak where you can't see the bread. It just looks like a steak big on the plate. I've eaten that, numerous times.
And we came back about 3 days later, and I asked Chrissy out for dinner, and we went out on a date, and that's how I ended up at Amels.
And we have our cook in the kitchen, Tony, who's been here for, let's see, I'm 46, and he came here when I was 3 years old.
Tony's #1. Homemade, handmade. He does it himself. He wants it, everything has to look beautiful. It always has to, because sometimes when we come through the door, the parsley blows off. And he's like, no, and you got to go back and get another piece of parsley and come back on. It has to be correct. And he takes it very personally. He makes very good food.
But the spirit of Emil Luzajec remains, not just in the unusual name of the place.
You know what? My dad was Serbian. And that's a big Serbian name. And everybody who comes in here that hasn't been here for a while mentions my dad and tells me the story about how they met my dad and, the first time that they came in here and what their reaction was and how good the food was and, and they, just keep coming back.
No, when the steel mills were open, this place was packed. Emil always used to sit up top there.
Right over here, the first seat. That was my dad's chair.
Emil would sit at his chair over there. And that was his office, too. That wasn't just his chair. He conducted business from there.
I came down to be interviewed to work, and I sat next to Emil here because that was his seat, and I had a cheeseburger and fries. It was my first time here.
Deliveries would come in. He'd come over with the slip. The truck would unload, come over with the slip. Emil would examine the slip. Then he'd reach into his pocket and pay the bill.
And he was eating a rack of lamb, so he cut the lamb, and he said, here, have this. And I ate, he said, you're in. And I was in ever since, and that was 8 years ago.
And any customer that you could ask that has ever been to this restaurant will tell you, when you came in or on your way out, my dad would say, you want a shot? That was his line, you want a shot?
And then we did shots, of course, because that was his thing, but yep, that's how I first met Emil.
If you walked in this restaurant and he didn't know you, he would come up and introduce yourself, or he would tell you to come over here, sit down, have a shot, and then you would be a customer forever. That's the way it worked.
What are you gonna have?
And now Chrissy and Billy and everybody keeps the same quality and keeps everything going the same way Emil kept it.
You know what? There's just so much history here with my family. There's so much history, and I'm hoping, something changes in the area. Like, they have all that land down by Cary Furnace and all of that, and they're talking about redeveloping that. And I'm hoping that, I'm hopeful that something comes of that. Because right now I have the business to sustain me, but, as time goes on, you never know. It's, this business, it's day to day.
I don't like chain restaurants. I like to go, when we're traveling or anything, I always want to go to try to find the Emil that's somewhere else.
It's just a local community. Everybody knows each other, and if you don't, you will before you leave. Because I didn't know anybody when I came, and I have a million friends here.
Well, Emil's dream was to keep Emil's here, and Chrissy's made it a great effort to keep it here and for the next generation, her son.
When you have a place this long and you have repeat people coming in here, it's a reason why it's still here. It's a special place. It really is.
No question. And every year on the second Sunday of October, Emil's is part of a local celebration, the feast day of St. Simeon, the patron saint of a small Italian village where many families in Swissvale and Rankin have their old world roots. After Mass at Madonna del Castello Church, the Del Monte Band provides some lively music for a grand procession.
It's so beautiful. Like, they have a big statue, and everybody's so together, and they march all through the neighborhoods.
On their way to the Croatian Club in Rankin, the whole parade stops at Emil's to make a toast, to have a good time.
Then we'd all come in, the band and everybody, the place is loaded.
And they play their music really loud in here, and they got the band, they all sit over all the guys. It's very nice. It's a very, very nice thing.
First of all, I'd like to express our gratitude to
to Chrissy for keeping up the tradition that her father started. And we are very grateful that we're still able to stop in here. Thank you very much.
You know, I love all this St. Simeon stuff because I came to do a story about Amels and I learned about this. What keeps me interested in Pittsburgh as a city and a region? It's full of surprises, endless and fascinating surprises. And there are always more to discover. All these 25 things are joys I find here, but it wasn't hard to come up with them. You know, sometimes people will say to me, aren't you running out of stories? After all these years, haven't you covered all the interesting stuff? No way. I say the only thing we're short of is time. We've made stories about many things, but there are countless more things to learn about and share. You know, I like lots about living here, but maybe the reason why I love it so much is very simple. It's home, and it probably always will be.
What I like best about Pittsburgh is the neighborhoods.
I love the pierogies at the Bloomfield Bridge Tavern.
I love the geography of Pittsburgh.
I think one of my favorite things for sure about Pittsburgh is the mattress factory.
I love all the thrift stores in Pittsburgh.
I'm a Bloomfield guy. I've been here all my life.
The feeling that Pittsburgh is not like any place else.
The thing I really love about Pittsburgh is the cheap rent.
I enjoy the Steeler Nation, you know, Steeler football.
What I like about Pittsburgh is the architecture of Pittsburgh.
Penguins, Sidney Crosby.
I love downtown. I love the buzz downtown.
Food trucks. The Children's Museum, I love that. You know, I take my kid over there all the time.
The History Center. The History Center is my favorite place.
What I don't like about it is we're constantly fixing bridges and roads. That's what gets on my nerves.
Nobody knows where Chippewa is, no.
I think it's a really wonderful place to be.
Because why would you want to live anywhere else?
25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh is made possible by the Buell Foundation, serving southwestern Pennsylvania since 1927, and by PNC, celebrating Pittsburgh's past, present, and future at the PNC Legacy Project exhibit in downtown Pittsburgh.
All right, there you have it. 25 things I like about Pittsburgh. This show really started, you know, because it's my 25th anniversary at WQED. And I said I didn't want to do an anniversary show, but I didn't mind playing with the number 25. I always like doing Pittsburgh A to Z, and this is almost like Pittsburgh A to Z with no alphabet. We're hoping you like the show enough that you might want to get a copy, but it's complicated because we always work up to the last second and we don't have the DVDs ready yet. But we hope that if you're interested, if you like any one of the stories you saw in the show tonight, or if you like them all, that you'll give us a call and pre-order, or just order one. All you have to do is call our toll-free number, 1-800-274-1307, or you can go online to www.shopwqed.org. And all the order information is there. You can pre-order a copy of 25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh. And we hope you like this show as one of the things you like about Pittsburgh. We've been really lucky. For 25 years, we've been making shows that Pittsburghers seem to appreciate and like to have in their houses and watch them over and over again. And if we knew what the secret was to make them so reviewable, we would bottle it and sell it to other places, but we don't know. There's something about these shows, whether you see them on the neighborhood channel or here on WQED, or if you have the DVD at home, there is something about them that lets you watch over and over. And so we're hoping that you'll feel that way about this show and get a copy. They're $19.95 plus a small shipping and handling fee. And you can order one tonight. All you do is call that number or go to www.shopwqed.org. We are offering a special deal as sort of our small apology because we can't guarantee that the DVD will be ready for Christmas. We want to offer you a special deal that you could get 3 of these DVDs, 3 of this same show for $50. So that's our special deal tonight. 3 copies of 25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh can be yours for $50 at either the phone number, 1-800-274-1307, or by going online to Shop WQED And it'll all be set up there so that you can order 1 copy for $19.95 or 3 copies for $50. Both of them have a small shipping and handling fee because that's the way our software works. You got to have a shipping and handling. I asked, can't we get rid of the shipping handling? No, it's there in the computer, so it's got to happen. So, 1 copy, $19.95, 3 at $50 of 25 things I like about Pittsburgh. They're really, I said at the beginning of the show, just random things I liked. So, I don't know whether you liked our story on the Warhol grave out in Bethel Park, or Pittsburgh Seltzer, or the Big Pour, or Construction Junction. Any one of the stories, if you think you could see that again, we hope you'll order the DVD tonight. Now, we have a special incentive on the DVD. We're going to add, as the extra on this DVD, an entire other hour-long program. It's a program we did about a year ago called North Park versus South Park. And that will be the extra. It's totally free on the DVD with 25 things. So when you order the DVD for 25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh, the extra will be North Park versus South Park. So you're really getting 2 hour-long programs at $19.95 for 1 or 3 copies for $50. We say the number over and over again so that you'll remember. 1-800-274-1307, or go online to shopwqed.org, and all the order information is there, and we'll ship it to you as soon as they're ready, which we hope will be very soon, but we can't guarantee them by Christmas. We also have another very special thing coming up on Christmas night. PBS across the country is going to air our new national special called Breakfast Special 2, Revenge of the Omelets. And we did Breakfast Special 2 years ago. This is a follow-up, Breakfast Special 2. There is really no Revenge of the Omelets story, but it's a great title that Sam Hall, our finance guy, suggested when I first said we were going to do a second Breakfast Special 2. He said, Revenge of the Omelets. It made me laugh, and it's still making me laugh. So it's our new special coming up. It's going to be on PBS Christmas night at 8 o'clock. You can watch here in Pittsburgh. You can watch anywhere across the country. And we thought it would be nice now, while we have a few minutes, to let you see a preview of Breakfast Special 2. So, while you're getting your credit card and going to the phone or going online to order 25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh, you might also watch this little sample, a teaser, an appetizer for Breakfast Special 2, Revenge of the Omelets. This is a program about going out for breakfast and some of the people who do that.
I think breakfast is the best meal, It's your first chance to celebrate another day. I'm here, I woke up, I'm hungry.
It's an important part of the day, even if you wake up late.
I love to eat breakfast.
Of course, it's the most important meal of the day.
It just gets your motor running.
I always try to get a little something in my gullet before the day gets going.
Gets the mind moving and motivating, so yeah, it is the most important meal of the day.
It's what people need in the morning. They get really crabby if they don't have it.
And not long ago, we made a program called Breakfast Special. We visited several places across America where you can get a memorable morning meal. We're going again.
Breakfast, you come down, you're hungry, you want to eat as soon as possible.
It is the best meal of the day, and it should never be eaten before 10 o'clock in the morning.
The best bacon.
We got a Spam Local, corned beef local.
I like to have some waffles and pancakes, but I'm supposed to be careful.
Oh, I got oatmeal.
Ever since we met, I've been eating breakfast pretty much every day.
I do like steak and eggs.
If you don't eat breakfast, you have a problem.
Yeah, you ain't gonna make it through the day, Howard.
You can't make a good day without a good breakfast.
The title of this program is Breakfast Special 2, Revenge of the Omelets. It's a gimmick. We don't concentrate on omelets, although they get mentioned a lot. We just wanted a goofy title, and who doesn't appreciate the power of omelets?
Have you seen our omelets? They're huge.
So we're not claiming to have found the best, just some really good places, hoping to convince you to go out for breakfast tomorrow morning.
So I eat breakfast out every day.
It's the best meal of the day. It's my number one meal.
Okay, several years ago, we also made a TV show called The Hot Dog Program. And we spent a day with Gary Zamola, the super-duper weenie man, at his truck in Fairfield, Connecticut. Since then, Gary has opened a small restaurant, and he makes hot dogs and hamburgers now. We asked him to suggest a breakfast spot, and he recommended a diner in nearby Norwalk.
Hello, sir. How you doing this morning?
Good, good. How are you?
Okay.
Oh, thanks, man. To me, it's always like a signal of like, oh, there's going to be comfort food in there.
This is the diner. It's called the Post Road Diner. But if you say you're going to go to the diner in Norwalk, everybody means the Post Road Diner.
That was just a small sample of Breakfast Special 2, Revenge of the Omelets. And I want you to remember, it's going to be on Christmas night at 8 o'clock. You can watch the whole thing. There are 2 Pittsburgh breakfast places in the show, Square Cafe in Regent Square and Hot Metal Diner in West Mifflin. And there are so many great places. We still talk about the incredible breakfasts we had all across the country, from the New Hampshire coast. New Hampshire has a very small coast with a great old hotel there called Wentworth by the Sea. We also got all the way to Hawaii, and we end the show actually with 3 great places to have breakfast on the big island of Hawaii. Now, that DVD of Breakfast Special 2 is also not quite ready. It's being duplicated as you're watching, but you can order it or pre-order it also by going to shopwqed.org or by calling 1-800-274-1307. That one costs $24.95 plus shipping and handling. It's put out by PBS, and it's a wonderful collection of great breakfast places, and that's also just another option. Can't guarantee it for Christmas. The show is going to be on Christmas night. We hope you'll watch. Now, before I leave, I'm going to make one more plug for 25 things I like about Pittsburgh. We hope you watched the show with us. We hope you liked it. Whether it's the story about the Save Race Street Committee or the Octopus's Garden in Friendship or Garfield or wherever it is, and it's on South Aiken. Or the Toonseum, or Mark Pamaki's Then and Now pictures, or the Gin Basil Smash at Bar Marco. I think I could go for one of those right now. All right, we hope you enjoyed that show. Again, we're offering 1 DVD of that show with North Park versus South Park as an extra on the same DVD for $19.95 plus shipping and handling, or a special deal tonight on premiere night. You can get 3 copies of it for $50. So all of that can be handled. You can get Breakfast Special 2, you can get 25 Things I Like About Pittsburgh, which also includes North Park versus South Park, all at shopwqed.org, or you can call 1-800-274-1307. So this has all been part of my 25th anniversary, and I have to say, it's been the fastest 25 years of my life. But I consider it an honor and a privilege and a great thing to be able to celebrate our city and our region and great parts of American culture on PBS, all through our public television station here, WQED. But you know, we couldn't do it without you. And I'm not even making a pledge pitch tonight, but what you do by watching the shows and supporting them and getting copies of them, it's all very important. It makes this work. It lets, you know, everyone know that this is something valuable or significant or something that we do here at WQED, and we want to keep doing it. And so I just want to say to you, thank you. Thanks to everyone who's ever watched any of these programs over the last 25 years. Keep up the good work. You're doing what counts.